Hey, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, then hi, my name is Erica, and today I'm gonna do a reaction video of Teal Swan interviewing a disabled man. I think he uses the term differently abled, but I have a really hard time using that term because it feels patronizing, but maybe I'll use it in this video. But anyway, so if you would like to see that, then just keep watching. I have watched this video before, so it's not like a first time raw reaction, but I will be reacting. Like, I haven't taken notes, so it will be me reacting to this video. And let me just pull up the video and tell you what it's called, so that if you would like to watch it, you can. So it is called Disabilities. Asked Teal episode about disabilities featuring RJ, and it is from 8 years ago. So I mean, to be fair, maybe her views on disability have changed. It doesn't seem like it, but who knows?
Many people think that genetic coding and issues associated with genetics is what's causing disability.
Okay, so right off the bat, she says that many people think that disability is a genetic thing. And that can be true with certain disabilities, but with many disabilities, it's not genetic. Like, for instance, the disability I have, cerebral palsy, is not genetic. And also, of course, spinal cord injuries are not genetic.
But that is like saying that light comes from a light bulb, when we know that the story of where light comes from started way before the light bulb. So what we really need to do is to understand that genetic abnormality is a symptom as well. It's a byproduct of what was first done with thought, focus, and consciousness.
So from this whole thing, like, genetics are just a symptom and the real cause are somebody's thoughts, it kind of, to me, and maybe I'm taking this the wrong, maybe I'm not woke enough for this, but it kind of sounds to me like she's, sorry, my mom is washing dishes, but it kind of sounds to me like she is saying that people can almost manifest their disability with, like, if something's going on in your head, then you can become physically disabled, which is not a real thing, but okay.
Disability. That is a choice that being, the soul within the person, that is projecting the person, chose upon incarnating into this reality. And now, I know that a great many people are going to balk when I say that, because it's easy for someone who doesn't have a visible disability to say that somebody might choose into the experience of being disabled. After all, most of us who don't have disabilities would say, why the hell would someone choose that? But we have to understand that what Source is after is a new perspective. And that's exactly what is happening when you see somebody who has what we call a disability. It's somebody who has a completely unique perspective. Having a disability is a very specific kind of contrast, and with each different disability, that's a different kind of contrast.
Disability is not a choice, Teal. I chose the clothes I'm wearing today. I chose how I did my hair. I chose how I did my makeup, and I chose my glasses, but I did not choose the body I'm living in. So can we please not? Because I feel like with that can come a lot of blame, and people will be like, oh, well, we don't have to accommodate disabled people, because they're making this choice when it's not a choice. So, Teal, are you saying you chose to be able-bodied? And this whole thing, what we call a disability, is BS, in my opinion. I mean, maybe she's trying to allude to the social model of disability, but she's doing it in a really poor and awkward way. You know, if you don't know what the social model of disability is, I'll try to give a quick rundown, but definitely do your own research on this. But the social model of disability posits the disability in society, or the disability is what happens when you have an impairment, and that impairment interacts with the environment. For instance, in that example, cerebral palsy per se is not a disability, but the lack of ramps and elevators and accommodations are what makes a disability a disability. But I don't even know if she's going there. I don't think she's trying to make us like a social criticism. I think she's more like, it's very lofty, it doesn't make sense, and it's not practical in the real world, and it really places the blame on the disabled person themselves, which I do not appreciate as a disabled person.
Kind of perspective, which causes a different kind of expansion, and those incredible lessons that are learned through that experience adds to the expansion of our universe.
I do agree with her that the disabled perspective is valuable to society as a whole, because it can teach you things about values, about adapting. But I also want to be careful here in case you've seen that meme, which you probably have, because at least once a year it comes on my Facebook timeline, and I'm gonna paraphrase here because I don't know the exact wording of the meme, but it goes something like this. I think it says 1 out of 7 children has special needs, so that is 6 chances for non-disabled children to learn about special needs. Disabled people are not a teaching moment. We are people in our own right. You know, I'm not some plot device in your story, Teal. I'm the main character of my story. Maybe I have a bad case of main character syndrome. Probably. But what my point is that I do not want people to view me as a lesson. I want people to view me as a human being who has more to offer than just, oh, well, I see that she talks funny, so now I'm gonna be thankful for how I talk. I don't want to be that.
I think my name is RJ, and I have 3 different disabilities. One being cerebral palsy, and some people say cerebral palsy, which has a different variation depending on the person. In my case, I have it to where I have the use of my limbs, but I'm unable to walk. And this originates from a lack of oxygen to the brain either before or during birth. And then the second disability I have is called cleft lip impairment. which is visible right here, where there is a hole, or there used to be a hole in the roof of my mouth, and it was open when I was born, and I had surgery shortly after to put it back together. So the after effects of that was my speech impediment.
So this is just RJ basically explaining his disability or disabilities. He has CP, he was born with cleft palate, and he has seizures. I'm not sure if seizures is a separate disability though, because I do know a lot of people with CP have seizures. In fact, I was thought to have seizures when I was younger. I don't think I've ever actually had a seizure, but doctors thought I did. So yeah. Not sure if the cleft palate itself caused his speech impairment, because I do know a lot of people with CP, like even me. Obviously I have a speech impairment, so it might not have just been the cleft palate that would cause that. It is probably also an effect of his CP. So that was just something I wanted to add. I mean, it doesn't really make a difference, but it's just something I wanted to add.
Disability is, I wouldn't say epilepsy, but I do have seizures, and they did not appear until 2000, and I have not had one since 2005.
Goodly. Good job on not having seizures since 2005. Let me guess, that's when you started expressing your emotions. Oh man.
Wow. So first of all, I would just like to say the way Teal says this is very patronizing. Like I don't know if anybody else noticed this. It might be me overanalyzing this, but she was like, good on you not having seizures since 2005. And then she says, did this happen right when you were able to process your feelings? Teal, I guess nobody has told you this before, but people have seizures for many reasons. It could be like a sensitivity to light. It doesn't always, it's not always something in somebody's control. And to posit it as like, well, you're having seizures because you just can't process your emotions and you're trying to repress your emotions, that really puts the onus on the person. And it's like something they can control, but they're choosing not to, which is very harmful to say.
Expressing your emotions. Oh man.
So funny. I'm Teal Swan, and I'm so fucking funny. No, you're not, Teal. You're not. I feel like she thinks she's the shit, but she's really just shit. I know, I'm getting a bit mean at this point in the video. Because this is BS. That's why I'm getting a little. I'm sorry for being mean, but like, it's really gross that she made, not only that she filmed this video, but then she uploaded it. And she's had 8 years to reconsider this and delete it, but she hasn't.
That's something you and I were talking about earlier, right? That everybody, yeah, there's a difference. Everybody's different, and everybody has certain limitations, and those limitations cause a certain amount of contrast, right?
Yeah.
But what we're really seeing, basically, when we're seeing a disability, is
shit, Teal. Everybody does have limitations, but it is pretty dismissive to use that as a reason for a disability not actually existing, because the thing is, there's a big difference between you, Teal, not being able to spread your wings and fly like a bird, and me not being able to dress and shower myself. That has social consequences because I am very limited in, like, for example, I can't just travel somewhere on a whim. I really need to plan it out to get somebody to help me do that sort of a thing. So I really don't like the way Teal is framing disability here.
seeing, basically, when we're seeing a disability, is somebody who is focused on what is inappropriate or what is wrong. And that's the basic society has that opinion of disability. A disability means you can't do something which you quote unquote should do. So would you agree that the focus is basically that something has gone wrong, when spiritually that's not the way it is? It's focused on what is.
And look, I know Teal thinks she's a spiritual guru or whatever she thinks she may be, but she is able explaining, in my opinion, disability to a disabled man. You know what really bothers me is when non-disabled people try to explain disability to me, a disabled person. It's just one of my pet peeves.
Is focused on what has gone right.
Yes, the word, to me, the word disability focusing on the negative or has a negative connotation to it. Whereas with me, I believe that everyone has a different ability. We're all unique.
Teal is acting as if she's come up with a social model of disability here, saying that society sees disability as something wrong, but it's really an issue of society itself. I mean, she didn't say exactly that. That is what I'm getting from what she's saying. I could be totally off base, but I feel like she's acting as if she just invented the social model. The social model has been around for a while. I don't remember exactly when it was. I learned that in one of my classes. I'm very bad with dates and time periods, so please do not ask me that. But it's been around longer than Teal has been around, so please don't act like you reinvented the wheel. How nice. Everybody has a different ability. We're all unique and different. I get that. I do view disability as a form of diversity, and I don't see it as something inherently bad, but I don't think we need to use euphemisms to say disability, because I don't believe disability is a bad word. And I believe using euphemisms in place of the word disability actually adds more stigma to it, because then it's like something unmentionable. We can't say that.
I believe that there are personality when you have your disability. You can either be born with it or you can acquire it later on in life. So, to answer your question, it was easier to answer it for those who acquire it later in life, whereas I believe they feel that they have lost something.
Yes.
They,
Yes, in fact, that's the way that I was going to explain it earlier. That universally, if somebody is born with a disability, that's a different set of contrast that someone's experiencing from somebody who, say, breaks their spine when they're alive or something because they lost the ability to walk. And so part of the contrast that we're experiencing in them is a more extreme version of limitation, actually, because they know what the opposite feels like. And what's interesting is most people who line up with it after they're here, what they're really experiencing is, because of the limitation, is extreme levels of desire for freedom. The desire for the ability. That's a sense of freedom, right? And so they deliver the most amount of expansion in terms of freedom in this world.
yeah. I believe everybody in this universe wants a sense of independence. But we are all interdependent.
Yes.
I'm going to have to disagree with RJ here that everybody in the universe wants independence, because while I'm not very well versed in this, but I have read that the need to be hyper independent and hyper individualistic is a very Western and very American idea. There are plenty of cultures in history and even today where people value interdependence and they don't feel this need to be independent. And you can expand on this in the comments if you know more than me. Please feel free to do that, because I'm not very well versed on it. I would like to be, so yeah. Yes, we are all interdependent. That is a very important point to drive home, because even non-disabled people still rely on other people. They rely on other beings. For instance, we all rely on trees. We rely on some animals. If you eat meat or dairy for food, we rely on plants for food and medicine and clothing. So nobody is independent.
So wouldn't you say, this is what somebody in my position would say as a spiritual guide, that one of the biggest blessings that comes along with cerebral palsy is that you have to learn the lesson of interdependence. Being in the situation you're in, being completely independent is not an option, right? So you have to learn to let people into your heart. You have to let them help. You have to let them play a role in your life. Independence is really not an option for any of us, but most of us harbor the illusion that it is. For you, you can't harbor the illusion, can you?
I don't agree with Teal here. While I do agree that being disabled can allow you to understand interdependence more than non-disabled people may, but I also know a lot of disabled people who are still hell-bent on this idea of achieving independence, so I don't think that's necessarily true. And I don't think she can really glean that from this conversation with one disabled person, but also since he seems to be somebody who's kind of, and excuse me for using this term, but he's kind of drinking the Kool-Aid. He buys into a lot of Teal's teachings. So I think that especially makes this interview very much biased. And I realize I'm biased too, but she's talking to someone who basically believes what she believes and is trying to say this is what the disabled community thinks, which is not necessarily the case. Also, just because you are physically dependent on somebody does not mean you let people into your heart or are emotionally vulnerable. I know plenty of disabled people, and I speak from experience, especially when I was younger. I was very closed off about my emotions and what was going on in my head because I felt like I had no privacy as someone who can't dress myself or wash myself. I've always had to be physically vulnerable and reliant on other people. So especially when I was younger, before I went to treatment for my ED and all that, I wouldn't let people in. So I don't necessarily think that is true. I do like here that she says none of us can be independent, but we can live in this illusion because I think that's very true. I think non-disabled people, and even to some degree disabled people who believe they can be independent, they're mistaken because nobody can truly be independent in this world. So I'm not gonna go through this whole video because it is super long and I feel like a lot of parts of it are redundant, but I'm probably gonna stop around 11 or 12 minutes. So I hope you learned something from this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you have not already and you would like to see more of my content, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye!